Imagine not being able to read the paper because your hands were shaking. Imagine not being able to read newsprint as your world faded to black. The National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana. Monthly Report. With your host, Lee Martin, and co-host, Florence Myers McSwine.
On this report, we'll be introducing individuals from throughout the blind community that use a service called the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, which is a free service for the blind, visually impaired, and individuals that have some forms of dyslexia and print challenged citizens. In Indiana, we have over 166,000 individuals that are coping with blindness that qualifies for this free service. And we want them to know that this access to information is available to them free. And we are sponsored through the Indiana State Library's Talking Book and Braille services, as well as our state legislature. So we have a great program, and we have a great guest that's coming on to this program, Miss Tammy Hollingsworth. You will not want to miss what she has to share with you. And my co-host for this show is Miss Florence McSwine. Good morning, Florence.
Good morning to you. And you were emphasizing NFB Newsline, and I just wanted to share to our viewers, our listeners, a little bit about my experience with the NFB Newsline. I am a subscriber. I've been a subscriber for quite a while. Diagnosed with an eye condition at a very young age called retinitis pigmentosa, where I gradually lost my sight. And I was an avid reader. I used to love to read. And you know, as my condition progressed, I had to give up a lot of my reading. And thanks to NFB Newsline, I can now read my newspapers and magazines again. And it is a great tool to have in my toolbox.
Well, I'll tell you what, you brought up a very interesting piece there. I lost my sight at 48 years old. Mm-hmm. And one of my first jobs was delivering newspapers. That's about 14, 15 years old. And now that I'm the state coordinator for the National Federation of the Blind Newsline, I find myself blind and still delivering newspapers.
Yes,
Isn't that a coincidence?
Yes, it is.
So we want you to stay tuned for our show as we have great information to share. And we'll be right back right after our commercial break. So stay tuned.
Thousands of Indiana residents feel isolated from the world due to vision problems. Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm blind. I read Stars and Stripes on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I use NFB Newsline when reading Hammond Northwest Times.
Using NFB Newsline, I read the Christian Science magazine.
Dad, you read Jerusalem Post, too.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Live the life you want. Read NFB Newsline.
It's free.
Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind, Newsline, Indiana Monthly Report. Today we have a very interesting guest. Co-host Flo, when you say so.
Yes, we do.
And Miss Tammy Hollingsworth. with the National Federation of the Blind, and she's a subscriber of NFB Newsline. Welcome to the show, Tammy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, you know, we're glad to have you, and we have so much to cover in such a short period of time. But let's start out talking about, when did you lose your sight?
Well, I have been blind since birth. I have an eye condition called optic nerve hypoplasia. And so I was born blind, and when I was very young, they thought I was totally blind, but I do have a tiny bit of vision, very, very limited. And so I mostly use Braille and speech access to read the things that I do read.
Okay, and I know that you are you're a very good professional writer. I love your writings, whether it's in an email or whether it's in a text.
Very creative.
Very creative lady right here. And one of the programs with the National Federation of the Blind, NFB Newsline, you subscribe to, and how has that impacted your life?
Well, I grew up reading. I was a big reader. I always have been. I love to read, and I would literally carry a stack of Braille books almost as tall as myself. And I would just continue to read. But as a child, there wasn't a lot of access to magazines. And so I would go to the store with my mom or friends or whoever, and I'd be touching those glossy magazines and wondering, what's in there? What exactly is it that these people are reading? Because there wasn't much of that type of access. And so I was so excited when the NFB Newsline program did come along. At first, I wasn't too sure because it was a dial-up service, but after a while, they were able to get it onto the iPhones and the Android phones. And for me, that was great because I'm a really busy person, so I wanted to be able to take it with me, and I literally can do that. And so I'm able now to just read all of those magazines that I wanted to read, the TV listings, sale ads. I'm a mom, and so, you're always shopping for somebody. And so, I use it for a lot of various things.
Lawrence.
Yes, and Tammy, now I have spoken to you several times about your using NFB Newsline service, and I was really intrigued with how you use the service. Now you also you mentioned that you're a mom, and so I remember before you also mentioned about coupon. You cut coupon. You're a big coupon user. Yeah, and. That was one of the other things that you had mentioned about the NFB Newsline as well.
Yes, I mean, I use the NFB Newsline to be able to access the ads, the sale ads, and all the time there's new content coming on there. And so I'm able to know what is on sale without having to have someone read it to me, which is awesome.
It is.
And then I can, save money using coupons too, so.
It is, and you mentioned without having someone else to read it to
Exactly.
you. And that way you can pick what you want to read.
Yes.
Now, are there any particular magazines that you, as a parent, read?
Well, I really enjoy a lot of the blindness publications. There are a lot of publications out there for people who are blind or visually impaired, and a lot for parents. I really like reading the Braille Monitor, and which is a monthly publication of the National Federation of the Blind. I also enjoy reading Future Reflections, which is for parents of blind children. I really enjoy the magazines, as I said. And one of the other things that I love to do is when there's a story, especially a national story that you hear of from another place. And a lot of times you'll hear of that, and then suddenly it's gone. You don't hear anything else much about it. But I can go into any newspaper all across the country and even across the world and find that news story in that location, and it goes a lot deeper and a lot further. And so it's like a search, you know, to be able to find more information about these stories that I've heard a little bit about here.
Yeah, that search engine that's on that NFB Newsline is a fantastic search engine. And you can, I mean, students love to use that to search for current events or past events. I mean, it keeps them abreast. I just can't say enough about the NFB Newsline service, which is available here in Indiana. And one of the ways that you can access that service or find out more about it, you can visit our website, which is www.nfbnewsline-in.org. And Florence, you have the phone number?
Yes, I do. And we have a toll-free number, and that is 1-855-963-6476. And we also have a local number. Now, our local number is 317-653-5106.
And we just want you to know that this is a free service once again. You can also sign up at the Talking Book and Braille Library. They are very receptive to you signing up for the NFB Newsline. You'll receive your credentials from our national office, which is basically a security code and an ID number. And you install it into your phone or your device, whether it's your computer, your Victor Reader Stream, or even the digital talking player from the library, your landline phones, and as well as your mobile phones. We also have an app that goes with the Apple phone. So, you know, there's a number of ways that you can access this great service. And for those of you that are sighted, please tell anyone that you know about this particular service. They may know of someone in our community that may be, I don't know, be a user of this particular service. So we just want you to know that this service is out there. It's free, and you can contact us once again at the website and at the numbers that we provided. And we'll be right back on our next segment. We'll be talking about a hot topic, dealing with parents and the Parents Division of the National Federation of the Blind of Indiana. We'll see you shortly.
If you or someone you know is visually impaired or print challenged, the National Federation of the Blind has a resource you need.
I am a CFP practitioner, and I happen to be blind. I rely on NFB Newsline to keep me current with Wall Street Journal and the Financial Times.
Hoosiers can hear Indiana magazines, circulars, national magazines, and information from across the globe. Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
As I travel the nation, I read NFB Newsline.
I live in Valparaiso, Indiana, and I listen to my local news on NFB Newsline.
As a student, I enjoy reading current events on NFB Newsline.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
Subscribe free to NFB Newsline today. Welcome back to the National Federation of the Blind Newsline Indiana Monthly Report. Today we have Miss Tammy Hollingsworth with us, and we have a hot topic with her today as we talk a little bit about one of the divisions that's within the National Federation of the Blind, and that's the Parents Division. And Miss Hollingsworth, How long have you been involved with the Parents Division?
I've been involved in the Parents Division since it was a thought in my head, along with a few other people that I know. I attended my first national NFB convention, and when I went and I saw what parents programming was like there, I said, you know, we need something like that here in Indiana to service parents who find themselves having a child who is blind or visually impaired, to service parents who are blind themselves, and to give a place for people who are interested in the needs and the things that the parents and their children who are blind might need to be involved. And so we came back from that convention really, really fired up 20 years ago, and we began the Parents Division here in Indiana.
Okay, and Tammy, now, what exactly does the Parents of Blind Children do?
Well, we do a lot of things, and over the years it has changed and evolved depending on the needs of the people that we serve. But the Parents of Blind Children in general, the purpose of it is to provide a peer organization for parents who have children who are blind or visually impaired, and also to give a place for parents who are blind themselves. And we have done all kinds of different things to make this happen. We've done social activities, fundraisers, but the main thing that we do is advocacy. And we teach parents how to advocate for their children, which is so desperately needed and important for these kids who are going through school and who are receiving services from the school. We want to make sure that they have access to all the things that they need, including Braille or other assistive technologies that they might need to be successful. And so parents need to be the advocates for their children. I grew up, my mom was a great advocate for me. She was able to get Braille for me at a time when if you had a little bit of vision, you might not be able to get it. But my mom taught me the importance of advocacy for your child. And so we just try to pass that along to other parents. And usually it works out as a one-on-one kind of thing.
Okay, and what are some of the challenges that you think that parents of blind children might have?
Well, parents of blind children, I think they themselves, you know, when they are faced with a child who is blind, a lot of times they don't know where to turn or what to do. Many people have never experienced this. They've never had a person or even known a person who is blind. And so when they discover they have a child who is blind, the first time we see them is usually when they have an infant and they're lost. And so we give them the encouragement to know that their child's going to grow up and be a normal, contributing person to society. And then we see them again when the kid is in school and they're trying to get services and need assistance with negotiating the case conference process. And then we sometimes see them again when the student is transitioning into college. So we really find that a lot of the challenges that these parents face who are working with a blind or visually impaired child is that they have never experienced it before. The other facet of our group is parents who are blind themselves. And so they also face a lot of challenges and especially stigma from the public. A lot of people believe that people who are blind are not quite as capable as people who are not, who can see. And so we just, you know, people who are blind are parents all the time, and we try to fight those stigmas that exist.
Now, one of those stigmas that are being fought nationally are parents that are blind from that misperception of the condition and misperception of knowing how to rear and raise a child are faced with some legal issues right now. Would you want to kind of expound on that a little bit?
Well, yes. We've had, you know, over the years, we see every once in a while parents who go into a hospital to give birth to a child, and when they get there, they're treated very differently than their sighted counterparts. And oftentimes, are questioned, are you going to be able to do this? Are you going to be able to handle this? What support system do you have? Things that may not ever be asked of other parents who can see. And then the other thing is, we've had situations where children have been removed simply from the home simply because the parent is blind. And there needs to be a lot more reason than that, because blindness is no reason for a person to not raise their own child. There are many alternative techniques that we use as parents who are blind to do what everyone else does. And we just need to be able to be on the same playing field as they are and treated in the same way.
And I agree wholeheartedly with that, because it is devastating when your child is taken away from you, just because a person feels or an agency feels that way with the misperception. Education is the key.
It really is.
Even with the blind parent, and with sighted parents, education is the key with them. They have to learn to nurture as well. So there should not be any differences displayed. And the National Federation of the Blind is working toward mending a lot of those, or bridging those gaps of visible differences. And I'm glad that you are at the forefront here in Indiana with the Parents Division. Now, aside from that, you also caretake for another special entity in our community, and that's cats.
I do.
Tell us about that.
Well, I wear a lot of hats, and I'm involved with the Parents Division for the National Federation of the Blind and other things as well. But one of them is I work with a rescue organization here in Indianapolis called Robin's Nest of Indy, and I take care of very young kittens. I'm a bottle feeder for the organization. But not only do I do that, I also supervise foster parents of kittens. So I have a group of fosters that are under me, and I also help with managing the volunteers at the Petco, where we are able to adopt our cats and kittens out. So I have a pretty hefty role in that rescue organization at this point in my life. My kids are grown now, so I have more time for that kind of thing.
Okay, you say you bottle feed the cats?
I do. I bottle feed them.
Okay, and how many are you caretaking for now?
Everyone's, it just depends from week to week how many it is, but right now I have about 4 litters of kittens. I say about because sometimes it changes from day to day that I take care of. Supervising, I take care of a lot more than that, but it just varies from day to day how many I have. But I like to have just a couple of litters. So.
A couple of litters.
Yeah.
Wow. And this is so much for you to be proud of, and so great information for our community, that it doesn't limit us because we are blind, in whatever capacity you want to pursue. And, it just goes to go along with our brand that every day we are raising the expectations of blind citizens. And you do that not only in the blind community, but in the visual community as well. And you're a great asset to the National Federation of the Blind, your community. And I just appreciate you.
Thank you.
So, we're going to take a short pause. There's a very good hot topic. And for those of you that have interest in the topics and would want to meet with Ms. Hollingsworth or give her a call, you can reach her at our hotline number for the National Federation of the Blind, and that number is 317-205-9226. So you can reach her there, or you can also go to our state website, which is www.nfb-in.org. So we'll be right back with our final segment of this show. Stay tuned.
The National Federation of the Blind knows that blindness is not the characteristic that defines you or your future. Every day we raise the expectations of blind people because low expectations create obstacles between blind people and our dreams. You can live the life you want. Blindness is not what holds you back.
I'm Danny Wayne Beamer, Program Manager of the Elder Blind Program at the Will Center in Terre Haute, Indiana. I introduced the NFB Newsline to seniors in 13 southwestern counties in Indiana. I also utilize the NFB Newsline for my radio station public affairs shows. The NFB Newsline, experience it today.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
I just graduated college as a blind student. How can I independently find job listings?
Thanks to the National Federation of the Blind, visually impaired Hoosiers can hear newspapers, circulars, and magazines from across the globe.
It is a fantastic service.
Learn more by calling 855-963-6476 or visit nfbnewsline-in.org.
We are the nation's blind, and we read NFB Newsline.
It has been a great show today, wouldn't you say so, co-host Flo?
Yes, it is.
And Tammy, I just want to thank you once again. We just appreciate you for doing what you do as a caretaker. You know, our greatest asset is our children. And blind children need to have the same opportunities. Blind parents need to have the same opportunities to be successful in this life. And just because we're blind doesn't mean that we don't fit into society. That's an old misperception, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
So, you know, as we move along with the National Federation of the Blind Newsline monthly report, many of the hot topics that we will be covering will be centered around some of the issues that many of you just take for granted. And blindness does not have any barriers, and it doesn't have to be an obstacle. You can live the life you want, and we know that blindness does not hold us back. So we'll be bridging gaps of visible differences, and thank you very much for watching our show. See you next month.
The National Federation of the Blind Indiana Monthly Report. For more information, go to nfb-in.org or call 317-205-9226. That's 317-205-9226. The National Federation of the Blind encourages you to live the life you want.